Gereği kadar öğrenin. Aşırıya kaçmak yaratıcılığı öldürüyor. Okumanın yanı sıra düşünmek için de kendinize zaman ayırın. Eğitim ve araştırma için yurt dışına çıkın ama sonra muhakkak ülkenize dönün. Kulaklıklarınızı hazırlayıp 1. kanala alırsanız çok sevinirim. Şimdi sahneye konuşmasını yapması için Harvard Üniversitesi Rektör Yardımcısı Profesör Doktor Mark Elliott'ı alkışlarınızla sahneye davet ediyorum.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everybody here. It's a great honor for me to address this Science Ambassadors program today, and I want to very much thank the organizers and to men in particular for giving me this opportunity. I'm going to say a few things about the university and the idea of the university, and then something about science. I want to begin by noting that I'm probably the only person in the room who does not consider himself or herself a scientist in any strict sense, because I'm a historian. I'm a historian of China by training. I teach Chinese history at Harvard, in addition to serving as the Vice Provost for International Affairs at Harvard. So I'm not a scientist in the usual sense, but I think I am, like many of you here, I am something of an ambassador. At least I hope I can say that. An ambassador for my university, an ambassador for the importance of learning, an ambassador, an envoy in the greater cause of promoting higher education around the world. We heard earlier from Professor Cabranolo about the idea that geography is not destiny, and I completely agree. And he gave a fine example of Singapore as a small place, a city-state with virtually no natural resources that has relied upon its people. And I think that we would say that the most valuable resource for any country is its people, and the best way to develop that resource, the best way to take advantage, is to provide education. That is why you are all here, and looking around, I can see in your young faces that you have many more years of education ahead of you. And yes, it will be hard work. We heard that message also from the rector a little while ago. But it will also be joyful work. You will love the work you do, at least if you've made the right choices. So higher education then really is the key thing here, and that is what brings me, in fact, to Turkey. This is my second visit to Turkey. One of the things I think that unites all scholars, whether they're scientists in medicine or in physics or in engineering, and scholars like myself with an interest in history, is a deep curiosity, a hunger for knowledge, and it's about knowledge that, of course, the university was created in the first place. When you talk to people about when was the first university, you will get different answers. Some may point to universities in the classical world. Some may point to institutions in North Africa or in China or in India. Many places like to claim the status of being the first university. In Europe, anyway, the first university was in Bologna. It was established in the 12th century. And the idea of the university and of the curriculum of the university was that it would be a place where people could come from anywhere. You did not have to be from Bologna to attend the university. There was, of course, no such thing as Italy then, so there was no talk about having Italians attend. And when you go to the University of Bologna, you go to one of their oldest rooms, their oldest buildings, you will see the seals on the wall of all the students and all the professors who attended in those early centuries. And they are from everywhere. The university is a community of learning, a community that is open to anybody who can demonstrate an honest determination to apply herself or himself to the pursuit of knowledge and the pursuit of truth. Knowledge was considered, and still is considered, to be fundamental to the health of any society. And the idea of a liberal arts training was what was required for people to be able to live as free citizens in their societies, wherever they came from. And this is still very much the ideal of the university today. When we talk about the liberal arts, that includes, of course, science and mathematics. It includes history and philosophy and religion and literature. All of these things are the liberal arts. The liberal here has nothing to do with being liberal or conservative in any political sense. It has to do with finding your way as a free person. That's what liberal means. Now, Harvard is the oldest university in North America, founded in 1636, so about halfway through the Ottoman period, so not a terribly old place from a Turkish point of view, but from the point of view of the American colonies, it certainly was an early step toward recognizing the importance of learning. But it wasn't a university in the beginning. It was just a college. It was a college that had one purpose, and that was to train ministers, preachers, who could go to the churches of New England and minister to congregations of the Protestant faith. That's why Harvard was created in the beginning. Over time, other things were added to the curriculum. Over time, other schools were added so that it became to look more like a university. A law school was added in the late 1700s. A medical school was added around the same time. A school of divinity was added separately, and gradually Harvard began to evolve into something like a university, but it didn't really become a university until the end of the 19th century, fairly late in its history, after it had already been established for about 250 years. The model upon which Harvard became a university was the model of the research university. And the model of the research university was established in Germany in around 1820 in Berlin at the Humboldt University. The idea here is that the best teachers are the people who are doing the research, and that to really learn, to really be able to pursue truth, to be able to pursue knowledge in a serious way, you needed to be able to do research yourself. And in order to be able to do that, you had to be taught by people who could do that research. This is how the research university was established, first in Europe, in Germany. The president of Harvard, who changed Harvard into a university, spent 3 years traveling in Europe, most of that in Germany, trying to understand that system. Yeah. He may have had some similar thoughts as Professor Kavraoğlu about, we've got something, it's okay, but how can we make it better? How can we make it better serve the needs of our society? How can we make it better serve the needs of the world in the future? How can we structure this in a more optimal way? And so Harvard became a true university at that point, when it began to hire not just knowledgeable people, but people who could do research, who were carrying out actual research in laboratories, who were engineers, who were chemists, physicists, biologists, botanists, as well as philologists and philosophers and historians and other kinds of scholars. So that was a big moment in Harvard's history. We are now facing another big moment as we also seek to grapple with the changes that are being brought by the internet, by high-speed computing, by the ability to process enormous amounts of data with computers that have a capacity that nobody could have dreamt of 50 years ago. In fact, if you come to Harvard, and I invite everybody here to pay a visit, and I invite everybody here to apply, don't let the application fee scare you away. If you can't afford the application fee, we have a system to waive the fee. That's not the obstacle. So think about Harvard when you're thinking about your future. You come to Harvard, you will see the first computer. We keep it on display in the Science Center. And you can see, if you look closely, a little insect that got into the computer. The computer takes up most of a room. And that little insect, that bug that got into the machine, because the machine, like I say, it's very large, that's where the origin of the word bug comes from in a program. It was an actual insect in a Harvard computer. So science was elevated at Harvard in the late 1800s, and science and engineering continues to occupy a very high status at the university. Those of you here who have chosen to become scientists or are thinking of science as a career, you cannot make a better choice. It's a very important role that you will play in contributing to knowledge, in making discoveries, in finding out the wonder of how this world works, sometimes at a very microscopic level or submicroscopic level. We'll hear more about that from my colleague, Professor Hotam İşligil, in just a few minutes. Sometimes it might be at a more macro level. As you pursue your path, you will discover that science is, in fact, a universal language. I don't know if you were paying attention earlier today when the first speakers were being announced. What was the music that was being played? Did anybody recognize the theme music? Pirates of the Caribbean? What was the music being played as I walked up on the stage? Somebody must have heard that music. Nobody was paying attention? I find that hard to believe. We were hearing Vivaldi, right? The Four Seasons. Spring, I believe. This is music that everybody can understand. It transcends national boundaries, transcends race, transcends religion, transcends sexual orientation, transcends physical disability, transcends everything. Science is the same. You become a scientist, you have a passport to the world. It can take you everywhere. I know this because as the vice provost or vice rector for international affairs at Harvard, I travel everywhere in support of the faculty of Harvard and the students at Harvard who are going all over the world in pursuit of their research. It brings them here to Turkey. It takes them to Rwanda, to India, to China, to Antarctica. I have yet to go to Antarctica, though. I'm hoping for that still. So science will open up many, many doors for you. And you will find, I can guarantee, that you will become part of an international research team. Because science today, in the age of the internet, is done on a global scale. About 1/2 of all the co-authored papers by Harvard scholars are co-authored with people outside the United States. At MIT, that number is even higher. Another way of saying this is that in pretty much every field, if you want to do really good science, you're going to need to learn to collaborate with people outside your home country. And that will mean going abroad. It will mean spending time as a postdoc or a research assistant somewhere abroad. It may mean going to do your degree abroad. And then you may come back and you will have a natural link. You will have a network of people all over the world. They'll be in France, they'll be in the UK, they'll be in Australia, they'll be in Singapore. There'll be conferences soon. You will find yourself enmeshed in a web of knowledge and a pursuit of truth that is really global. And that will be very exciting. And it will help you understand even better how much it is the case today that science is a global enterprise, requiring collaboration and cooperation on a very great scale. If you were to come to Harvard, you would find that about 1/3 of our graduate students are not Americans. You would find that about 1/3 of the faculty at Harvard, the professors at Harvard, about 1/3 are international in background. Why is Harvard a great university? Maybe we're not as good as Caltech in the THE ranking, but we're close, right? Why are we great? Because we seek talent from wherever it comes. We don't care where you were born. We don't care what you look like. All we care about is that you're creative, you're hardworking, you're smart, and serious, that you have talent. That's what we're interested in. That is what we value, and that is what is valued at all great universities, including some of the great universities here in Turkey, including at Sabancı University. Right. So that, I think, is something to bear in mind. And Professor Hutlemişligil, who will speak in just a moment, is a perfect case in point of somebody who came to the United States and has made a spectacularly successful career at Harvard. We're very proud of his work. His lab is a completely international lab. There must be, I've been to the lab, people from at least 6, 7 different countries working in that lab, including a number of Turks. So I'm going to let him talk. Before I step down, though, I want to just give a little advice. This is too good an opportunity. I hope you'll forgive me. Some advice for you as you set out on this path or continue on this path. Advice about success and how to succeed. So I basically have 2 things to say here. It's not long. One, find people, search for people who are smarter than you and hang around with those people. If you find that you're in a room and you think, whether it's true or not, that everybody else is not as smart as you are, then you are not challenging yourself. Find people who are smarter than you and learn from them. Be humble. Don't be proud. The great scientists were not proud men or women. They were humble people. A scholar understands And this is, again, one of the secrets of the research university. The scholar, the true scholar, understands that she or he can learn as much from a second-year student as the second-year student learns from him or her. So find smart people, spend time with them, learn from them. The second thing I would say is to pursue the work that you're good at, pursue the work that you believe in, and pursue the work that gives you joy. If you find that you are dreading going to the lab, that the thought of going into the library again is painful to contemplate, then you should think again about what you're doing. Because this is a commitment. It's pretty much an all or nothing commitment that you need to make if you're going to be successful. So you should be enjoying it. And if you can do that, find something you feel so passionate about, a way in which you can make a contribution that will really change the world, then you should follow that path and don't let anybody tell you better. Your own realization of your potential is the most important thing. And if you can do that, and with just a little luck, because luck does help, with just a little luck, you will all find success. Thank you again so much for your attention, and good morning.
Konuşmaları için Mark Elliott hocamıza çok teşekkür ediyor. Alkışlarınızla uğurluyoruz.